Nitrogen for plants doesn't just have to come from fertilizer. Hi, I'm Lauren Kane and I'm the founder of Elm Dirt, where we specialize in microbe-based fertilizers. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit about a special microbe called Rhizobium. Rhizobium is a bacteria, which means it is a living microbe that lives mostly in our soil, and it is found naturally in healthy soil. And what it does is it nitrogen fixes. What that means is it pulls nitrogen from the air, which our atmosphere is made of mostly nitrogen, and it pulls that nitrogen out of the air and it converts it to ammonia, which is a nitrogen-based synthetic fertilizer. So they're basically like little fertilizer plants in your soil, and they're converting the nitrogen that's in the air and it's free to use, and they're turning it into nitrogen for your plants in ammonia form, and it's feeding them directly into the plant roots. Rhizobium is also a very specialized bacteria in that it matches up with legumes or beans, and it meshes on to the plant roots, and they form these little tiny nodules on the plant roots, so that is what is actually doing the nitrogen fixing, and they can boost the nitrogen fixing abilities of the beans themselves. So different Rhizobium bacteria partner with different legumes. Soybean and sweet peas and other different types partner with different types of Rhizobium bacteria, and there's a couple different species out there. Our plant juice has 2 different types in our main mixture, and that can really help boost if you have a vegetable garden, if you've got beans and peas out there in your garden, or if you're growing sweet peas, because those are really one of my favorite flowers that's out there, and so they're in a lot of my pots every year. What that means is they partner together to bring more nitrogen into your pots and into your plants, and it can fix that nitrogen down into the soil, and it can even supply it to other plants that are planted next to them. So that's where the idea of 3 sisters comes about. And if you've been in gardening a long time, you've heard of the 3 sisters, but if you haven't, the 3 sisters is a traditional Native American way of growing, where you plant your corn stalks, then you plant a bean that will vine up around the corn stalks and use that corn stalk as its trellis. The beanstalk then puts the nitrogen into the ground for the corn to use, because corn is a heavy nitrogen feeder. It really likes that nitrogen. And the beans are nitrogen fixers, and especially when partnered with Rhizobium bacteria, they can fix a lot of nitrogen. And then the third part of the 3 sisters is a squash at the bottom that helps provide a shade and ground cover that helps keep the moisture in the ground. Because it's important for these things to have some moisture, but it's also important for them not to have too much moisture. And so this was a traditional way that the Native Americans grew food, because they would get the corn, the beans, and the squash, and all of those are very nutritious vegetables for people to be eating, and they can be really grown together successfully and with a lot less need for hands-on helping it grow, helping it grow up the trellis, or helping it get moisture, or watering it more frequently, because you've got all these 3 things working together. Now, so how much nitrogen can Rhizobium bacteria and beans actually produce? So if you've got a farm and you've got soybeans that you're growing, and you've got Rhizobium bacteria that's attached to the bottom of the soybean plant's roots, it can actually fix up to 100 to 300 pounds of nitrogen each year, which can be almost as much as you would need for an entire corn crop the next year, which are heavy feeders. So if you can imagine in your own home garden, if you've got Rhizobium bacteria that is your beans, and you're growing beans in different areas in your yard, you could potentially be producing a lot of your own, and you'll be doing it naturally, chemical-free, no risk to your pets, your plants, your kids, yourself. And it makes your plants grow really healthy and really easily to grow. Now, Rhizobium also does have some constraints. It doesn't like to be too wet, so don't put it in like a soggy area, and just keep it well watered throughout the year, so that whenever it's dry, you kind of put it and you water it just like you would a normal plant. Bacteria also likes the pH of the soil to be in that 6.0 to 7.0 range. That's where a lot of plants also like to be. So if it's good soil for growing plants, it's probably going to be good soil for the Rhizobium bacteria to hang out and in. If you're worried about your soil, a whole blend of different types of microbes in our juice, which is the one that has the Rhizobium bacteria in it as our plant juice, all work together to help produce those specialized conditions where the microbes thrive. We have bacteria that's helping to adjust the soil pH for you, so you don't have to go out and buy 10,000 different products and find which one works for your specific soil and your specific needs. We make it easy for you. All you need is our liquid plant juice. You dilute it down to 2 ounces per gallon, and that will help balance your soil for you and help bring it back in alignment and help seed it with the beneficial bacteria like the Rhizobium that you can start doing your own nitrogen fixing in your own garden. How do you tell it's working? So if you pull up a bean plant and you look at the roots, there will be nodules on the bottom if your Rhizobium bacteria is starting to work. That might not be when you planted fresh seedlings and you've just put down plant juice. If you've been keeping up with your plant juice over every about 2 to 4 weeks, time it's going to seed that Rhizobium bacteria. As long as the conditions are there for it to thrive, it's going to latch on to those bean, and they're going to start growing nodules. So if you pull up your sprout out like the end of the year and you take a look at this roots, you may see little bumps on them that are nodules of where this Rhizobium bacteria has formed its symbiosis with the themselves. And then if you cut those little nodules open, if they're pink or red inside, that means they've been doing a lot of nitrogen fixing throughout the year. And now don't worry if you don't see them or if you have white nodules instead of pink nodules. All that means is it's been a tough, challenging for that bacteria to thrive. And so you might look at whether you have stress or if you've got drought going on. Types of or plants that you're growing might not be right for that specific Rhizobium that's thriving in that area. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, and that's why we give you over 250 different types of species in our juices so that you don't have to count on just one thriving in your area. You can actually count on a whole bunch of different ones that will do different things for you. So we have a bunch more nitrogen fixing bacteria. We also have ones that supply phosphorus and potassium to your plants, others that help supply calcium, and just a whole host that all work together to make sure that your plants are getting what they need and when they need it without you having to have a science degree and having to figure out what products work and when. We make it really simple for you. If you have any questions, drop us a comment below, send us an email. You can find us at elmdirt.com. You can also find us on all social media at elmdirt. And we really want to hear from you. If you've got questions, you've got comments, if you want to share your story, or if you just want to learn more, follow along, subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on all the social medias, and we will keep these tips coming.